Bears are very driven by their nose. They're very motivated to consume calories, and this is the thing that gets them into conflict with humans. They're very attracted to the things in your backyard. That's things like gardens, chicken coops, fruit trees, and a variety of other attractants that we find in the backyard. So that's why electric fence is very effective and very useful to secure those things. Today we're going to talk through the step-by-step process, a very simple how to put an electric fence together. So let's get started. When deciding on which electric fence to build for you, know that electric fencing is very adaptable and there's a wide variety of different designs that can work for you. For today, we're basically retrofitting an existing barrier fence with 3 strands of electrified wire. But regardless of which type of electric fence you are building, you're gonna use essentially the same components for any type of electric fence. You're gonna need wire. This is the part that we're electrifying. You're gonna need insulated wire so that we can make connections between the different strands, between the energizer and so forth. You're gonna need insulators. These are what hold the wire away from the fence. Today we're going with these offset insulators. They work great. And then there's the thing that runs the whole system. This is the energizer. If you have power available on site, I recommend a plug-in energizer. If you don't have power, solar-powered energizers are also available and work great. I would recommend that you have a fence tester so you can make sure your fence is working. And then we also have a ground rod, which ensures you have a ground return built into your system, and that's very important. Anytime you're dealing with electricity, there's an inherent risk involved. But modern day energizers are designed to be very safe. Also, before beginning any electric fence project, you're gonna wanna check with your local regulations just to be safe. But now that we have all the things in place, let's get started. So we're gonna go around to each post and mark where we want our wires to be. In this example, we were gonna have one wire, the bottom wire at 12 inches, the middle wire at 30 inches, and the top wire here at 45 inches at the top of the first course of field wire. The reason we have the wire spaced in a certain way is we want this bottom wire to be right around nose height. That's where a bear is gonna be investigating the fence or exploring, and that's really the highest likelihood of where a bear is gonna get shocked. The 2 wires above that prevent the bear from being able to climb or access the fence going over it. So now we can just start by putting insulators in. We know electric fencing works, and that's why we work closely with local bear managers on projects just like this.
Electric fence is a wonderful option. You can contain all of your attractants within this electric fence and allow bears to teach themselves not to get into trouble. It's a wonderful form of what we call passive aversive conditioning. The bears teach themselves not to get into trouble. So if you have an apple tree, a bee yard, slap up electric fence before you start having bear problems. And it'll save bears' lives and it'll make your life a lot nicer.
So now that we've got our insulators hung, we're ready to start stringing wire. We just start paying this out and slotting in place into the insulators themselves. These are pin lock insulators, so as you go, you have to snap the pin in place that holds the wire in there. And as you can see, this is why we've used 2 insulators on each corner, is to hold the wire out and away from the rest of the fence. We just keep going down the line. So we've reached the end of our first strand here, and we're gonna clip the wire off. You'll notice we've used a different type of insulator at the end of the line. This is a lag bolt insulator. It's sturdier, it's more rigid, and is where we can really pull the wire against to pull the wire nice and tight, which is important. Usually you can get it that way just by pulling on it. You can see the tension here, and we just wrap it back on itself. So now we've got our first wire connected, we're gonna go back and string the rest of the wires, and then we'll show you how all these wires connect to each other and over to the gate. So now that we've completed our 3 strands of wire that go around the fence, that start here, go all the way out and around, and end at the other side of this gate, here and here. So that just leaves our space in between where the gate is, and we have copied our same fence design onto the gate with a strand of wire here, a strand of wire here, and a strand of wire here. And you can see the insulators mounted on either side of the gate. Our next step will be to connect each of these strands of wire together and connect the main fence to the gate using insulated wire that acts as a jumper. So essentially, we just strip the end of the wire, pop that off, and we use one of these joint clamps to connect the wire to the strand itself. So now that we have each of our individual strands wire connected together with jumper wires here and here, here and here, we've done the same thing on the gate, wire connected to wire, connected to wire. Our last step is basically to connect the main fence to the gate itself, also using a jumper wire, just like this. And when this is connected, our gate is still able to swing open freely while it's connected to the fence. So here we are back at the house where our power source is to plug in our Energizer. This is important because now our fence is basically complete. This is the last step. Up here we've mounted our Energizer on the post underneath the deck under an overhang so it's not exposed to the elements. Down here we've pounded our ground rod into the ground, connected the ground rod clamp to it, and run a wire from it back to the Energizer, connected here at the green terminal. And then this will also continue back to the garden fence. To the barrier portion of the fence needs to be connected to the ground rod as well. Here is our insulated wire connected to our red terminal. This is our hot wire. This is our positive. It runs all the way back to the fence as well, and they parallel each other. So our wires run back from our Energizer to the fence. We can connect our hot wire anywhere along the fence because all of our wires are connected together, as we saw earlier. We also run the ground wire back to the barrier portion of the fence to ensure a proper ground loop for the whole system. And now that we have these connected, we're ready to fire it up. All right, our fence is plugged in. Now comes the moment of truth where we use our fence tester and test the fence. We take our hot probe and touch it to the electrified part, take our ground probe and touch it to the ground, and our fence is reading 9,000 volts. We're now gonna wanna test each individual strand and test the gates to make sure they're all running at the same amount. If they drop below 6,000 or 7,000, you're gonna wanna check your connections just to make sure everything's connected all right. But the nice thing is, with minimal maintenance and regular checking, this fence is gonna last a lifetime. And as we've seen today, this is not rocket science. Anybody can build an electric fence to reduce human-bear conflicts on their property. For more information about Defenders of Wildlife and our electric fence incentive program, and to see if you qualify, visit us at our website, defenders.org/gotgrizzlies.